Josh Hasten here, Israel Uncensored on the Land of Israel Network at thelandofisrael.com. It is the 16th of March, 2020, the 20th of Adar, 5780. Coming to you this morning from Jerusalem, a very quiet city, as most of the country, most of the city and most of the country are essentially on quarantine, more or less. Some people are more quarantined than others as a result of the COVID-19 or the coronavirus. To give you the latest statistics here, I found this morning on Twitter from the Ministry of Health in Israel. There are currently 250 confirmed cases of corona, 250 people. 231 are, thank God, in what they call light condition. 11 are moderate. 4 people are in extremely, are kashe, as they say in Hebrew, are in difficult or are very sick. 4 people have recovered from the coronavirus. 190 are being treated in some way, shape, or form, whether it's in the hospital or are at home. It's a new reality, folks. It's a new world out there for when we spoke 2 weeks ago. Last week was a Purim show here on the Land of Israel Network, and I didn't do my regular show. But it is a new reality, this coronavirus, and Israel, of course, taking what some might call extreme measures. I think it's, in my personal opinion, I'll share that now, I think it's completely justified. I think Israel's on the right path in order to prevent the spread of the virus. We're talking about a complete shutdown here in the country of shopping centers, restaurants, cafes, movie theaters for at least 5 weeks as a result of the outbreak. The Prime Minister announced these measures on Saturday night at a press conference. And if you follow social media or the media, you see that this is spreading around the world, this reality of people being quarantined, those who were potentially exposed in full quarantine, and the rest of us in some form of quarantine, and the government encouraging people to stay home, businesses encouraging their employees to work from home if possible. Public transportation, I heard, perhaps will be shut down as well. I don't know if that is accurate. I heard a rumor that could happen. Nonetheless, yesterday I was driving from Gush Etzion to Jerusalem when I saw an Egged bus with literally one passenger on the bus. So that is our reality. It's a little bit depressing, or you can perhaps turn it around, as my next guest, Rabbi Zev Shandalov, who's an educator and lecturer, did yesterday in a Facebook video. He turned it around and explained how we can focus on the positive from all of this, focusing on what we can do in this time of essential quarantine nationwide and perhaps worldwide eventually. Here's Rabbi Zev Shandalov. Rabbi Zev Shandalov is an educator and lecturer. I've actually known the rabbi for many years. He was an extremely prominent rabbi in Chicago, the Lincolnwood area, and he left Chicago behind and made Aliyah. How many years ago, Rabbi? Oh, wow. Time flies. It feels like it was just a couple years ago. It is so. But I've seen Rabbi Shandalov in action at his pulpit in Lincolnwood, and it's great that he's here in Israel, spreading the message of truth using social media and spreading the messages contained in the Torah. An educator, a lecturer in the Ma'ale Adumim area. Rabbi, it's an honor to talk to you here this morning. So we, of course, are under extremely difficult circumstances, unprecedented in our generation here, with the spread of the coronavirus. here in Israel, I just read this morning, and we were up to 250 confirmed cases, various levels. A few people have already recovered. The majority of them are, thank God, only in light condition, but we do have people in serious condition being treated for this virus. But yesterday, and the reason I decided I wanted to reach out to you was yesterday you posted a video on Facebook, and the message of the video is, with all the restrictions we have now, we can't be in a room with more than 10 people and on and on. You said the following. You said, let's focus not on what we can't do, but on what we can do. So if you can, I want you to share that message with our listeners this morning.
Absolutely. My pleasure. I think that the two pieces of background. Number one is that message, while I was sending it out to, so to speak, the Facebook world, I was telling this to myself. I felt I needed to hear it myself because I'm a person who really likes consistency. I like knowing what I'm doing tomorrow, next week, next month. And I felt I needed to say this, and I thought that maybe others would like to hear it. The other background piece is that a number of years ago, I was talking with some teenagers, and we were talking about the topic of Shabbat. I said, what does Shabbat mean to you? So this teenager said, well, I can't do this, and I can't go on my phone, and I can't do this. And another one said, I can't do this. And then one of them said, I get to spend extra time with my family. I can read a little bit more than I can during the week. And I stopped, and I realized it's kind of like one of those aha moments that, and I've used this over the years with other kids and with adults. I said, tell me two things about Shabbat. And when I hear I can't from a negative perspective versus I can and I will is a totally different outlook. So I took a look at this, what's going on here, and myself included. I would say, hey, I can't go here, I can't go there, I can't do this, I can't do that. And I stopped myself and I said, look, and this pretty much was the message yesterday, that yes, there are plenty of things we cannot do right now and for our own safety and the safety of others. But on the other hand, we now have an opportunity that hopefully for this reason is a once in a lifetime opportunity. And that is we have a heck of a lot of time on our hands that we didn't expect to have. I'll give you an example. I'm a teacher and schools are closed, not just in Israel, but many other parts of the world. And although I'm teaching some students online, I still have more time on my hands now than I would during a normal school week. So that means, like for myself and for others, there are things that I said, I don't have the time to do X. I'm never going to get to Y. And so now I have that chance. We also have the chance to get closer with family, spend time talking to each other a little bit more than we might during the week, which, of course, also being practical, we have to realize that because kids are home from school, they're going to get on each other's nerves. The parents are going to get each other's nerves, and the kids to the parents, parents to the kids, etc. But at the same time, if we could try to take some of that opportunity of that time and use it for things that we had put off, organizing something, reading something, learning, talking to people on the phone that we may not normally get to, I think that we can turn this into something a little bit more positive while we're sitting there rather than the woe is me perspective.
So take advantage of the situation we're in, unfortunate situation we're in, use our time wisely, get to that book we haven't gotten to, learn a little bit more Torah, get to know our families a little bit better. And I agree with you wholeheartedly. I know it's only been now about 24 hours since essentially the entire country is in a state of quarantine. Some people, unfortunately, in true quarantine where they can't even leave their rooms. But that is an amazing message. What would you say then as a rabbi for those who are simply afraid, afraid of the virus, afraid of the unknown? I know myself personally. I mean, I've already gone through an entire container of hand sanitizer because I know that that's like the top message we're hearing from the medical professionals is keep your hands clean, keep your hands clean. As a rabbi, what would you say to those, especially I would say the children or everybody really, in terms of combating the fear of the unknown, the fear of getting sick? Which is a real fear.
Absolutely, it is. I just want to add one thing or make one comment. You mentioned about the hand sanitizer. That is an excellent thing to be doing. Just understand, I'm not a medical professional. I'm just spitting back what I've learned, that washing your hands with soap and water 20 seconds is much more effective. So both together would be fantastic.
Good point.
Yes. Okay, so as far as the message of the rabbi, look, we have every single day, even before the coronavirus, we have all kinds of things we have to deal with, both in terms of the the environment in terms of real enemies, that especially here in Israel, and anti-Semitism around the world that's gotten out of control. We have so many things that we are dealing with on a daily basis. And this really is the first time we've had to deal with something like this in modern times. And one of the things I said in this brief video yesterday was that we as a people, both adults and young children, we've been taught our entire lives, Yisrael betach b'Hashem. We have to believe in Hashem. We have to trust in Hashem. We have to give our emunah. Ein lanu el hishaen ela al avinu shebashamayim. We only have Hashem to rely on. And very often, unfortunately, it becomes what they call a platitude. We say it, but this is the time we really have to start going a little bit deeper and saying, look, I don't know why this is happening, but Hashem, this is happening for a reason. What that reason is, by the way, if people tell you the reason is X, Y, or Z, they're fools, because no one knows. That means you understand what Hashem has in mind, as it were. But whatever it is, and I have to look at myself, what I can do to protect myself, my family, and understand that Hashem has his reasons, and ultimately we will see this. I mean, I'm not the first to mention this, I'm sure, but we saw an unbelievable, so far, B'li'an hara, amount of rain this winter, and it's still coming again starting tomorrow, with the Kinneret almost full, and a time where we're being told to use an inordinate amount of water now to wash our hands. So it's amazing to see how Hashem gives this refuah before the makkah. I think that we open our eyes and see, what the message is, to each his own or her own, what it is that they think that Hashem's trying to tell us on an individual basis, on a national basis. But again, not to start making proclamations that because some woman's sheitel wasn't covering her hair properly, or somebody spoke a word of lashon hara, that the whole world is suffering because of that. Because again, that's a foolish statement to try to assume you know what God is thinking.
Yeah, unfortunately, I have seen several people claim that they know the reason why this is happening. But what I've seen so far is I've seen total unity. The last time, maybe, again, this is just the beginning, unfortunately, but I think the last time the nation was completely unified was, unfortunately, as a result of the kidnapping of the three boys. It's been now over 5 years ago. But Israelis and Israel comes together in times of crisis like no other people, like no other country, like no other nation. And I just want to share with you just a short story yesterday. A friend of mine, a neighbor of mine, shared this yesterday, that he was at in a parking lot of a supermarket, and an elderly couple was their car was in the wrong place, and a policeman came up to them, and you would think, they'd get a ticket, they're in the wrong place. He opened the window, and the couple said, yeah, we're just, elderly couple said, we're looking for parking. And the policeman said, no, it's, he realized that they were elderly. He said, no, it's too dangerous for you. He took their grocery list, shopping list, and said, give it to me and I'll take care of it for you. The policeman took his lunch break, went inside the supermarket, purchased the entire list of groceries for this couple, brought it back to them, and sent them on their way. Stories like that, I mean, I don't know. It's just things that you don't hear anywhere else. So, I mean, maybe that's, again, yeah. Again, not to speculate as to why this is happening, but just to give an example of how in these situations, it's like nowhere else. And I just came back from America a couple of weeks ago, and it's night and day. I'm not trying to bash the U.S., but there's nothing like what's going on here in Israel in terms of the unity when the going gets tough.
Yeah, it's been that. I think that's an important point too, Josh, that what we're seeing is, again, I say, not trying to guess why God's doing this or allowing this to happen or however terminology you want to use, but how we as a people react to it. Like you say, was it the three boys or with a war or whatever it is? Unfortunately, it takes things that are really, really not so good to bring us together. Like Esther Malka said, we just read it a few days ago in Purim, said, Lech kenoset kol hayudim. So on the one hand, we want to gather all the Jews together, but we can now only do that really spiritually because it's not safe to have too many people together. But at least we can understand the achdut, the unity that we can get out of this. And again, no one knows how long this is going to be. People are talking already Pesach, Rosh Hashanah. Who knows what's going to be happening? But whatever it is, we have to look day by day what's going on.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm going to be talking politics here after we get off the line, and in that realm, it doesn't seem like there's much unity. But maybe Yeah, maybe the politicians need to turn around and learn from the citizens. Just an example of that story yesterday, and they can get their act together, and together we can combat from top down, from our politicians down to us, combat this horrible virus which is going around. But I want to thank you for your message of hope, your message of encouraging people to use their time wisely, do what you can, despite the circumstances, learn a little bit more Torah, spend time with your family, and do the things that you can do. Get some exercise, get out there. It's a beautiful day today here in the land of Israel. But I want to thank you so much, Rabbi Zev Shandalov, educator, lecturer, former rabbi from Lincolnwood, Illinois. Special place in my heart, that's for sure. I want to thank you so much for your time, Rabbi, and stay healthy, stay safe, and let's talk again. Keep up with the positivity and keep posting those positive messages, because people are watching, people are listening. Thanks. Have a great day, and we're going to be right back, folks. This is Israel Uncensored on the Land of Israel Network at thelandofisrael.com. We are going to get to those politics and much more here. Don't go anywhere.
While we're facing a threat of an endemic disease, we conducted a whole election. Nothing can stop our Jewish democratic state. We want to have a say in the future of the Jewish people that is being written as we speak. We are in the glory days of the Jewish people, and even more glorious days are yet to come because of the strength that the Jewish people showed in this election.
Listen to Inside Israel Today with Gil Hoffman, political correspondent for the Jerusalem Post, every week on thelandofisrael.com.
Josh Hasten here at Israel Uncensored on the Land of Israel Network at thelandofisrael.com. So there you have some positivity from the rabbi. I appreciate him coming on the program today. Some more positive news here from the Times of Israel. A health ministry official has said Israel can effectively battle coronavirus, and in time, quote, it will just disappear. Asher Shalom, the health ministry's director of international relations, said Saturday night the crisis will be over when we see what we see now in China, with a key sign being more people cured than developing the disease. He added, then we'll understand we're on the right track. From this point, it could take a few more weeks, and as it appeared, we believe it will just disappear. Shalom said he hopes that this will happen this summer or next summer. However, in the meantime, Shalom said many people will be exposed to the virus and will develop the disease. So again, many will perhaps develop the disease, but he believes the virus will eventually disappear. And that is some positive news. He explained that Israel's strategy is to pace the spread of coronavirus, or, quote, flatten the curve, to allow the health system to provide optimal services to virus patients who need them, and to re-equip anything that may be in shortage. He stressed, as he has done previously, that expectations for the quick development of vaccine are misplaced, however, saying it will be at least a year to have a commercial product on the market. So while there have been claims, I've seen this on the internet, different sources saying that we are on the verge of some sort of vaccine. And again, I predict that when that vaccine comes out, it'll be from Israel. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm right. Who knows? We'll see. I believe Israel ultimately will be the first to come out with that vaccine, and then let's see what the BDS haters do. But it could take some time, according to this expert. So if we don't have enough already in the news with the virus, let's talk some politics. Our good friend Gil Hoffman from the Jerusalem Post reported this morning, along with Jeremy Sharon, that President Ruby Rivlin brought together Prime Minister Netanyahu and blue and white leader Benny Gantz and the negotiating teams for both Likud and blue and white at the president's residence last night in an effort to form a unity government to deal with the coronavirus pandemic. The meeting ended after an hour and a half, with both sides promising to continue meeting and Rivlin's office saying he had encouraged them to deepen their connection. Sources close to the president said he was open to both a temporary emergency government and a 4-year unity government. Among the options to be discussed was a government that would be first led by Netanyahu for a year, followed by Gantz for 2 years, and then Netanyahu again, or whoever would lead the Likud at the time. Now, so here we have elections, and we're going to talk about the building of coalitions and whatnot, but I would have thought personally that with the situation here in Israel, that the politicians would stop playing games and that a unity government would have already been formed on Saturday night when the prime minister called for an emergency government as a result of the virus. I would have thought, it's already Monday, I would have thought over the last 48 hours we would already have a government and they'd be working together to fight the virus. Yet that wasn't to be, and of course politics comes into it. These are politicians, but it's a little bit sad to see. It's a little bit sad to see, in my opinion, that we don't already have a government. And instead, we are going down the process which was meant to be after a third election and the timeline of coalition building. And what I'm talking about is Ruby Rivlin inviting all the parties to his office to hold consultations with all the leaders of the parties and the negotiating teams. That all happened on Sunday, and at the end of the day, President Rivlin decided to give, assuming there's no emergency government and we bypass all this, give the mandate, the first crack at forming a government to Benny Gantz. And that's extremely disheartening. It's extremely upsetting because 61 MKs did in fact, the leaders of their parties who represent 61 MKs did in fact endorse Benny Gantz to be the leader of the next government. That doesn't mean he's going to be able to put together a coalition, but it's disturbing that within those 61 are the, I believe it's, 15 seats. Yes, 15 seats of the joint list. The joint list is mainly the leaders of the Arab parties. Now, on the surface, and I saw a tweet from the New York Times correspondent here in Israel saying something like, well, Israelis have no problem if Arabs treat them in hospitals, but aren't willing to have Arabs as part of the government. And that is what we call fake news. The problem isn't with Arab citizens of Israel. They deserve representation because 20% of our country consists of Israeli Arabs. That's the reality, and they deserve representation. The issue is the leaders of these parties, and especially the Balad Party, are terror supporters. You're talking about representatives, essentially, of the PLO within Israel's parliament, within Israel's Knesset. And Benny Gantz, who said he would never bring in Arab parties into a coalition, and Avigdor Lieberman, who said he would never sit in a coalition with these Arab parties. Again, we're focusing on the representatives themselves who don't believe in the state of Israel, who actively work against the state of Israel, who support terrorism. These are the parties that Benny Gantz has struck a deal with. Again, they may turn around and not endorse him when it comes to the actual coalition building, but this is what is so disheartening. Broken election promises, and the fact that he's willing to sit in a coalition with those who shake the hands of terrorists, who condone terror attacks, who work actively inside Israel's parliament against the state of Israel. So again, we could talk about this. We could do a whole show just on the political situation, and that's not what I want to do here today. But it is one of the top stories on the agenda. Normally it would just be politics. That would be the story. That would be the story this week if it wasn't for Corona. And Corona should be top story, and these politicians need to get their act together. Let bygones be bygones, put together their differences, and put together a unity government. And again, I'm not saying this because I'm a fan of blue and white, but they did receive the second largest number of votes. They are the second biggest party, and the sides need to get together for the sake of the country and work on combating the coronavirus, period. That's what I believe needs to happen instead of going down this so-called normal election process, and certainly not bringing Balad and these extremist Jew-hating Arab leaders into the government of the State of Israel. Israel National News here reports that due to the coronavirus, Prime Minister Netanyahu's trial, remember he's still on trial, was postponed to May 24th. And of course, people aren't happy about that, but I think that is prudent at this juncture as we try to fight the virus. In other news, the Jerusalem Post reported yesterday the Shin Bet, that's the Israeli internal secret police, if you will, has foiled an attempt by Hamas to use an Israeli civilian as a terror operative. The Israeli Internal Security Agency, that's the official term, announced on Sunday, on February 17th, the Shin Bet, in a joint operation with the police, arrested a 31-year-old woman, resident of a village in northern Israel, an Arab village in northern Israel, a mother of two who was recruited by Hamas, according to the Shin Bet. Listen to this. The woman pretended that she was raising money for humanitarian activities for the needy in Gaza. That was her cover, when in reality she was raising money, raising funds for Hamas. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of shekel, claiming they were for the needy, and then she was claiming she wanted to help patients in Gaza. The money was transferred to Hamas, used to build terror tunnels. Okay, that is an unbelievable story, and thank God she was caught and arrested. But this is flat-out treason, and I hope she rots in prison for the rest of her life. Anyway, with all of that, just to finish on some positive, and we did get a lot of positive from Rabbi Shandalov, the Kinneret, the Lake of Galilee, continues to rise. I've been out of the loop a little bit, honestly, on the amount of rainfall, but I understand it went up another centimeter just yesterday. I think we're holding, according to Israel National News, Aruchev, we're holding at minus 209.47 meters, and there's more rain in the forecast. On one hand, we're blessed to have this rain. On the other hand, I want it to get hot already. Even though I'm a fan of winter, I want it to get hot already and hopefully burn out this corona business. But again, we'll have to see what happens, and please God, we will have a vaccine sooner rather than later. And my final departing message for this week's show here on the 16th of March, 2020, the 20th of Adar, and I say it every week, but I think this week is extremely appropriate to wish everyone out there in the wonderful world of ours just health and safety and security and only good things. And let's all do what we can to avoid this virus. Keep your hands washed with soap and water and hand sanitizer, and don't congregate in big groups. And if you're in Israel, do exactly what your government tells you to do, whether you like it or not, whether you think it's extreme or not. Just follow the rules, folks. Follow the rules. And please God, we will fight this together and win. Shout out to Benjamin Bresky for all the work he does, and Tabitha Epstein as well. My name is Josh Hasten. This is Israel Uncensored on the Land of Israel Network at thelandofisrael.com. Get in touch with me during the week, Josh at thelandofisrael.com, on Facebook, Joshua Hasten or Josh Hasten, Israel Advocacy and Journalism, on Twitter at Josh Hasten, and now on Instagram as well. Shalom, shalom from it's still beautiful, beautiful day here in Jerusalem, the eternal capital of the Jewish people in the state of Israel. Shalom.
The question is, why are the Jews there in the first place? The Jewish people have been yearning to return to their ancient homeland for a long time.
The Yishai Fleischer Show, the voice of a new generation of pro-Israel activists.
And there's only two kinds of minorities in the Middle East, armed or unarmed.
Inspiring minds to think differently.
That jihadism doesn't just attack Jews. It attacks Christians, and it mostly attacks Muslims.
Inspiration, spirituality, and politics.
So first and foremost, this country is here to defend Jewish people and to live in its ancestral homeland.
Listen to the Yishai Fleischer Show every week on the Land of Israel Network at thelandofisrael.com.